general, just the idea of putting a knife up against a grenade about to cut into it is an image that it invites a viewer to want to know what will happen next. So that's a little bit how I engage on it, not so much the overall meaning.
Perhaps a connection between lit and filmmaking.
Between
literature.
Literature.
Yeah, I believe that you major in literature.
Yeah, thanks.
So I would like to ask you the differences between these two disciplines, given the fact that narrative has changed a lot, especially in the field of animation.
Yeah.
So there might be, I don't know, different perhaps paths in visual narrative.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I studied literature. You know, I remember the one author that I used to love was Edgar Allan Poe. He, you know, wrote. What I found very interesting about Edgar Allan Poe is that he never created a novel. He created all these different genres simply by making short stories. You know, he's considered the father of the detective story, the horror story, and other different formats. And I was always impressed by, you know, he could carve out these new realms simply by writing a 10-page story. So I think that always impressed me. And so I feel a little bit of kinship with that concept when I turn my own efforts to making films online. I prefer to make them very short and rewatchable and sort of load them with details and hopefully even have a chance of coming up with a new kind of genre. That excites me, do you know what I mean? So that there was no such thing as a cooking film with inanimate objects before I made one. And now there's many of them. Many people around the world try to, you know, play and iterate on that concept. So, in terms of narrative, though, I think in a short film, even if it's only 1 minute long, you have to have a structure. There's no story and there's no characters per se, but there is a beginning and a middle and an end, and viewers sense a satisfaction when they want to feel a satisfaction at the end, that you've completed a thought for them. So much with my film, especially with Fresh Guacamole, I try to end on the very last frame. You know, that cracked chip, and then taking a bite of the guacamole. You know, it leaves a satisfying conclusion to this particular idea. I'm always looking to do that. Thanks.
From a generational point of view, you might long to the visual narrative somehow imposed by MTV, mimicry, which was not really narrative in the strict literary sense of the word. So I would like to ask you if it is some sort of comeback to the basic narrative as proposed by Poe, for example. Are we witnessing short stories with a very structured frame?
Well, look, there's just a river of content out there that everyone is making. For me, I would rather make less content and make each one a little bit more of a polished gem, so to speak. I work on it, I work on the ideas, the background ideas, the metaphors, the associations, maybe not the meaning. I let people sort of delve into that, but there is a lot of layers, especially when you work with objects. You know, objects come with such complex histories of associations. And like we were saying, grenades, they bring this sort of, destructive, brute force war association. And then they can get transformed into this, graceful object, like an avocado. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm digressing a little. Am I answering your question?
Technology, how does it change the possibilities? Sometimes there is not a synchronization between the way technology evolves
sure.
and
Well,
the potential narrative that it triggers.
Sure. I would say technology has helped me make the films that I make because the quality of the cameras and the software that I use to compare and contrast frames allows me to do things in a higher level of precision than I would have been able to do 15 years ago. That being said, I think so much content is moving towards the computer. But my body of work, as you know, is probably it's more analog. It's more with real things. It's a photographic medium. And I like real things. I like playing with things with my hands and touching them and trying to figure out what to do with them. So for me, I just make films to please myself and hope that other people will take some joy in that as well. I still think there's a lot of room for people making. The wonderful thing about animation is, by definition, animation is any film that you make one frame at a time. Whether you draw it, you do it on the computer, or you photograph it like I do and move objects. It's really up to your imagination how you want to apply these principles. And so I see a lot of opportunity for all different sorts of animation, including the one that I like to do.
And imagination as a key frame, as a key element.
Sure. Expressing an idea. Again, back to the guacamole and the avocado and the grenade. What am I going to do with this idea? People will think I'm a little crazy, but I want to share that idea, so I have to package it in the format of a film. It's the best format to share that idea with the world. So I think a lot of my films are about sharing little thoughts, and I believe lots of people, everyone has thoughts that creep in here or there, and you don't exactly know what to do with them. And so that's my story as well. I have those ideas, and I've just decided to make them so that the world can see them.
Your favorite story. Another one post favorite story in your case. Oh gosh,
I've always had a soft spot for Hop Frog. It's a lesser known tale. It's a tale of revenge, and I remember reading it when I was quite young, and I still think about it. And it's basically about this court jester who gets his revenge on all the people who taunt him. It's interesting.
My question is, I have two questions. The first is,
Yep.
do you have a new project?
Do I have a new project? Yep, I'm always working on different projects. They're in different stages of development. So I have a couple longer form projects that I'm trying to raise the money for, to create. Believe it or not, I also develop long form projects not in animation, but in live action. So that's a whole different process. But right now I'm not shooting a new short film, just at the moment. I'm putting all my effort into making a big film.
Okay, and the next question is, what is the challenge for the young people who want to create something with this technology?
What is the challenge for people using this technology? Well, the great thing about what I do is it's very easy for anyone. Children love to take objects and put a camera and start moving them and bringing them to life. It's a very accessible art form, this type of animation. And so I think there's great potential still. As you can see online, lots of kids and adults are continuing to experiment, seeing in this technique a lot of opportunity. I think in general the challenge is making something that is rewatchable, something that stands the test of time, and that just doesn't come and go so quickly. Because I'm a general believer in that timelessness is the greatest test of any art, right? So, but being able to make films that people want to watch 5, 10, 20, 100 years after you've made them is a great challenge. Of course, you're not going to be around to know, but I think you got to stand out, and you have to be unique in this world where we just are surrounded by so much mediocre content.
One last question.
How does an active manager manage to stay so still in the process of the film?
stay still. You know, it's interesting because a lot of times people do ask me, are you a very patient person? And I wouldn't characterize myself as a very patient person. You know, I'm Italian, I got like my Italian temper, you know. I kick the, you know, deli slicer, you know, I throw the grenades. But I think in general, what happens is I just do what's necessary to make the ideas, and what's necessary is that you control your body and you get into a sort of state of mind that allows you to work for hours on end, sometimes even days, controlling little movements a little bit at a time. So when I'm done shooting, I'm just ready to run a marathon, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just do what I need to do. Yeah, thanks.